growing food. She's been planting a lot of stuff.
All the January stuff. We're in a zone where I can plant some stuff in January.
So we're trying to grow our own food, but we don't have enough food on our own to eat. Hello, living my best life. God bless you. Please consider helping us get some food today, please. I'm sorry to ask you directly again. My girlfriend has been planting a lot of food. There are certain things you can plant in January. I swear to God, I've been trying my best to get a job. I've been applying places. I've been holding a sign that says need work. I've been holding this sign that says need work in a place where cars go by. I swear on my life, I'm trying my best to get a job. I'm not trying to keep begging. I'm trying my best. I hope you're doing good. I hope your family is doing good. I hope you've recovered from your knee surgeries. I'm sorry you have to go through that. One day we might have to go through that as well. Sorry, I'm looking at the viewer number. We have received. Well, I'm happy that you recovered for it. And I'm sorry in the past when you tried to help me, it didn't work out the way that you had planned. Hey, Skylar, I swear to God on my life, I am applying places. I am advertising to the public that I need work. I am doing everything I can to get a job. I swear on my life, I'm doing everything to get a job. My girlfriend is back here planting stuff so we can grow our own food. I'm begging anyone to please help us eat today. Skylar, I don't think you understand how jobs work. Maybe you're that privileged to where you've just always been given a job. Unfortunately, that's not the way they work. You have to apply, and then they decide if they want to hire you. Okay? When I tell you I've been applying, that's what that means. I don't know if you've ever went through that process yourself. If I could get a job holding a sign for a business, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I would take any job. I would take any job in a heartbeat. So when you come on here and say, I'm just saying if you don't get anything, you could always do that. You act like I could just walk up to a business and they would start paying me to hold a sign for them. No, there's a thing called an application, a hiring process. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but your comments are really, really rude and disrespectful. Hello, Ricky and Ash from Tokyo. I'm just gonna mute you for right now, Skylar. I want to say thank you to Sam. They sent $10 the person who was calling me lazy. They said tough love, man. For real, they'll stop being a B word and get a job and dinner. Well, we have $22 now thanks to that $10. And I'm sorry I got distracted living my best life. But I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity you tried to give me in the past. Today I was thinking I wish things would have worked out with so many different past opportunities I've had. Because right now I just wish I had a job. I wish I could get up and go to work and have a constant stream of income. Well, I also want to say thank you so much, Sam, for the $11. Thanks to Sam, we have about $22 now. We have to use some of that to get dog food. Well, Salmon, yeah, you know, that's true. The one thing I did think about it, my girlfriend is planting food. She's already grown a few plants, and these are crops that are supposed to be planted in January.
No, these are some of my indoor ones.
And I just want to say that, that is what I thought about today too. That everything happens for a reason, because if things would have worked out with you guys, then I would have never met my girlfriend. And to me, I feel like she might be the only person who would have ever gave me a chance at love, Can I keep the fan going for a little
turn
bit?
it back on there and do watering.
Okay. We do have $22 now, but we do have to buy dog food. If we buy the cheapest bag of dog food we can find, it's only gonna last a day or two because we have big dogs. And yeah, I'm very grateful for my girlfriend because a lot of people told me no woman is ever gonna love me. And I really did believe them. I guess we're just gonna have to eat hot dogs or something tonight, or peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Unless anybody else wants to donate, like they say, beggars can't be choosers. We have to buy dog food. So we're not gonna have much left. for food for us. But I'm very grateful to the few people who have donated today and helped us out. Thank you all so much. I am grateful that we have even that. Um, yeah, I guess we're just gonna eat some peanut butter jelly sandwiches tonight for dinner. It's not really a sustainable thing to eat every day, but it'll help us survive tonight. I know we're both hungry, so I guess I can give it a few more minutes in case anybody wants to help us have a better meal than that. I'll just give it about 7 more minutes until it says 20 minutes. Until it says 20 minutes on the live stream. So 7 more minutes now, just to give anyone else a chance if they want to help us have a better dinner than peanut butter jelly sandwiches. Then we appreciate it so much. God bless all of you. If not, we understand, and we will make do with what we have. Well, we have some mashed potatoes, and we have some instant mashed potatoes. But that alone doesn't really suffice as a meal. We did receive $22 today. Thanks to everybody who donated. And thank you, Austin. God bless you. We have to buy dog food though. So with having to buy food for us and our dogs, the dog food isn't going to last long because I'm going to have to find the smallest bag that I can find. The smallest amount of dog food that I can find. So I'm just on here for a few more minutes because we have $22 now, like I said, but it's not enough to buy a good amount of dog food and to get us a real dinner tonight. We are probably gonna have to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So if anybody else can donate for money for dog food or food for us, we appreciate any support. We didn't get the dogs. She had the dogs. She got this dog about a year or two ago in California. Can anybody please spare any money for dog food? We will be able to get some food tonight, but we're not going to be able to get a lot of dog food. Can anybody please spare any money for food for us or dog food, please? And anything is appreciated. We have PayPal, Venmo, and Chime in the poll in the chat. Also in the description of this video and in the about section of my channel. Please, if you could spare any money for food for me and my girlfriend or dog food, we appreciate you so much. God bless all of you.
Hello everybody, this is part 3 of my life story. Part 1 and 2 are right before this on YouTube. So last we left off, I was in Little 5 Points, Atlanta, hanging out with all the homeless people outside that night. And we had a good night. Some people were playing guitar, playing music. People are drinking, smoking. Some people are doing other things. I never got involved in that, thankfully. And so it was a pretty good night. And the next day turned into a few weeks. I was just in Atlanta every day. I Well, let me back up a little bit just for real quick to tell you that when I was in Rochester, I met other homeless people. I don't know how much I mentioned this in my previous videos. I met other homeless people in Rochester, like I said before, and they taught me how to be homeless, how to ask people for money, how to fly a sign saying you need money, or ask people for spare change, and how to hitchhike and stuff like that. So when I was in Atlanta, I met people who were doing the same thing, other homeless people of all ages. Some of them were my age in their teenage years. Some were young adults, some were older, so homeless people of all ages. In the bigger cities, you see a lot more bigger homeless communities, So, for the next few weeks, I was just doing that, asking people for spare change around that area. And we had this term we call white boxing, or white boxes. It's like when people come out of the popular restaurants around the area, they have like usually a white box or something of leftovers, and you just ask them like, hey, can I have your leftovers? And a lot of times that, restaurants cut a sandwich in half and there'll be an untouched half of a sandwich or something like that, But, we would just eat after people. The popular restaurants around the area, they have like usually a white box or something of leftovers, and you just ask them like, hey, can I have your leftovers? And a lot of times that, restaurants cut a sandwich in half and there'll be an untouched half of a sandwich or something like that, But, we would just eat after people, even if it was fries or anything that it might have been eaten out of, whatever, we would just eat after people. So it was a humbling experience. It was, I felt really free at the time, because like I said in my previous videos, I was grounded by my parents for a lot of my teenage years. I had to just do chores and stuff. They said, I wasn't allowed to like go hang out with my friends or anything like that. So I felt like I had friends, and I could just do whatever I wanted, within reason, within the law. But a few weeks later, like I think it might have been actually a month and a half to 2 months later, I forget exactly how long it lasted, that I was just hanging out there doing the same thing every day, getting money to get some weed to smoke. Sometimes I would drink with people. There's a few stuff that gone down there. So let me explain a few stories that went down Little 5 Points before I explain how I left Little 5 Points. This one's pretty embarrassing to me to explain, but I think it's cool to talk about or remember and to tell people about. Even though it is very embarrassing, I feel like a dork for this whole thing, right? But to give some context also, on my Facebook, I'm friends with a lot of other communists and socialists and leftists and people who care about social justice. And I met this lady, she's in the UK now, one time, and she was telling me that she was in the 5 Points in like the 80s or 90s or something, and that they would come together against racists and push racists out of there and stuff. And I told her, yeah, I had to say, I remember doing the same thing. And I remember thinking to somebody to just read in the comments, they might be like, oh, that I think I'm just saying that, but not. Here's an instance where that actually happened, right? So there was this older white homeless person messing with this other black homeless person, older black homeless person. The homeless black person wasn't doing anything. He was just sitting on the bench, in Little 5 Points in the Burke area. Now they don't have the benches anymore. I went back like a year or two ago, and this was in 2014, I think. Yeah, 2014. They have benches in Little 5 Points in the little area right in the middle where all the stores are, but now they don't have them anymore. So anyways, he's giving a tough time. He's like yelling at him and talking shit to him. I forgot if he was telling him to leave or not, but he was saying, I'm pretty sure I remember him saying the N-word, so me and some other people, we go up and we start trying to stand up for this guy, like, yo, back off and all this. They're telling him back off. And me, at this time, I was around all these hippies and I'm believing in all this spiritual stuff. So this is the part where I'm embarrassed and I think I was a dork, because they're standing around him and I'm standing with them, but I'm holding my hand out like this. I had a necklace that had like the Hamza, the Indian like symbol, like the hand with the little. Maybe that's why I did it. Thinking back now, I don't know why, but I just felt like I was like in some power, just holding this like. I feel so, like I said, I feel so much like a dork for even admitting it, but I feel like I was like spiritually doing something, okay? But anyways, so for a while it was a standoff. Nobody was gonna like really beat this guy up because I think it was me, a woman, and some other guy my age or something. But then Brooklyn, this guy from New York who he was black himself. And he was a buff guy, but he was a really cool guy, I was good friends with him, and he was always around. Unfortunately, he passed from this world a few years later. I actually saw it on Facebook. It was so crazy to me, the coincidence. I know Facebook is supposed to show you stuff like that, like of your friends, like that they think you is important, but I was like, wow. Without that random time of logging into Facebook, scrolling down my newsfeed and seeing his funeral invitation thing, then I would have never known. It's crazy. But Brooklyn comes up and he's like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with you? And he started, and the guy, as soon as Brooklyn was walking up, the guy starts running away, and he chases him all the way down the block, So that was one story. I had some good friends there. I remember. I forgot if I called him something else, but I think I did call him Andrew. I had him on Facebook, and my buddy Crash. Andrew and Crash were always together. They were real cool. They were like a little bit older than me, but we would all hang out. There's just a lot of people I met there. We had a lot of good times, a lot of deep moments, but some of them are just like crazy, and like some of them were traumatizing moments I had in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to go too deep. Maybe another time I will. But anyways, so let's continue from there. From Little 5 Points. Okay, wait. Look, there was one thing more that I can mention. This guy from Trinidad. I met other people from Trinidad before I met this guy, but he had a Rastafari shop in Little 5 Points, and he was real nice to me. I would go in there and talk to him. And one time I was so dirty, but I was wearing flip-flops. He's like, you don't got. He points down at my feet. He's like, you don't gotta be so dirty. You can go wash yourself. He told me about this fountain in this park, like down the road, that's on. He's like, go there early in the morning, just wear your shorts, and you can wash yourself off. And he gave me this soap, this African soap called black soap, and I would go there and talk to him sometimes and stuff like that. And he was a real cool guy, like an elder figure, in the community. He was real cool, So a few years later, when I went back to Little 5 Points in 2021, he had died also, and I didn't find out until I went to the shop, and it was some woman working, and I asked them about him, and turns out they had a shrine for him in the shop, and I put a little offer in there, and it was very emotional, knowing that he passed on, cause thinking back, like he told me something he told me one line that always stuck with me, and that I've repeated so many times. He said, no matter what, you always gotta take care of yourself first. He said, you can't help anybody until you help yourself. So you always have to put yourself first. And self-preservation is a real thing. We gotta make sure that we can survive. So that impacted me for a lot of years. I'm like, before I became a communist, You know, I always just thought about my own self-preservation, you know, but now I figured out I can still contribute towards, you know, a greater cause, you know, but of course I always gotta make sure that I'm able to survive, and everybody needs to do that, you know. So you gotta do what you gotta do to survive, you know. But so that was another good experience later. Later when in 2021 when I went back to 5 Points, the woman there, she gave me some of the black soap, which was real nice of her, and I gave her some of my pamphlets that I wrote about communism and talked to her, and we had a real emotional discussion, you know. So okay, let's go back. It's 2014. I'm in Atlanta, and then one night, you know, we're just chilling on one of the benches in the little it's called like the little park area. It's called the park. It's not really a park. It's just like a little triangle sliver where all the 5 points of the roads come together. A little triangle sliver of where there's some trees, and it's right next to the stores. And there was some benches there, but the benches are gone now. But at this point, the benches were still there. So we're chilling on the benches, and this white boy comes up, and he looks. I feel like he's younger than me, but he's actually older than me, you know. But just the way he acted and the way he looked, I felt like he was younger than me, you know. But apparently he was in college, you know, or something. And he's asking us if we can smoke around here. We're like, yeah, roll up, you know. So he starts trying to roll this spliff, right? A spliff is a mixture of tobacco and weed, and he's trying to roll it up, and he's taking so long, like 5 minutes, right? And he's like, and then he starts asking if we can go somewhere else or something, and then some of the people were like, y'all stupid. I think Brooklyn was like, y'all stupid, man. Fuck that, man. I ain't going over. He was smart, but me and two or three other people went with him behind the stores in the parking lot, and he finally finished rolling it up, and he takes a few puffs. He passes it to me, and I only get like 2 puffs, and it's mostly tobacco. But I'm like taking these 2 puffs, and then all of a sudden I see a cop roll by, and then the white boy, the kid, he just jumps up and he yells, "Police!" and just starts running. And the cop just pulls right over and gets out of the car and says, "Hey, stop!" And then he stops. So me and the other guys pretty much think it was some kind of setup or something, but I have no idea. Well, one guy did have a warrant there, so maybe. But the way he acted, like, it seems like a setup. Like, how could you act that stupid, you know? Because the cop was just riding by, you know, he wasn't bothering anyone or nothing. So as soon as he did that, I dropped you know, looking back, maybe I could have had time to eat it, but I didn't think that fast. You know, that would have been the best option if I would have been able to, but he probably would have saw me or something. But I just dropped it, and there's a lot of leaves under me. I didn't think they would find it. Bruh, this cop brought 2 more cops out there. They looked for like 45 minutes and finally found this fucking spliff that barely had any weed in it. It was mostly tobacco, and they're like, "Oh, it looks like tobacco." Like, nope, it smells like weed. I see a little bit of weed in it. I'm like, man, for real? Y'all really about to charge us for that tiny bit of weed? But yes, we went to jail. We went in the paddy wagon. You know, to someone raised in California, that would seem crazy. Okay, 17 years old, I'm getting put in the paddy wagon. You know, the big little vehicle that they put the people that they're taking to jail in. You know, with 2 or 3 something other adults. You know, and we're going to jail because a tiny bit of weed and a little bit of spliff, 4 people going to jail. So it's crazy, you know, the laws are so far behind in the southern states of the United States. And it's like that in North Carolina too. I would still go to jail At that time, probably in North Carolina, but North Carolina now it's where it's just a ticket if it's just possession. But in Atlanta, I don't know if they decriminalized it yet. If they haven't yet, then it's still, you go to jail for just, they can take you to jail for just a little bit of weed. Anyways, went to jail and let me try to think. I forgot if the times. No, I think it was the second time I went to jail that this a lot of the stuff I remember happened. Cause I have a lot of memories from, I think that was when I was in jail for like 2 weeks. But so this is a time where, you know, I gotta give credit to my mother and stepfather at this point. You know, it might have been better if they would have just let me stay there, you know, because it was a lot more hassle in the long run. But because it would have only been like a week in jail versus having to pay all that money and like $1,000. It was like $700. When I was 17 years old, you know, the only time they ever tried to help me out for getting in trouble. My mother, you know, she and my stepdad helped me out, you know. They got me out like a day or two later. And they wanted me to come back to North Carolina, right? After I stayed, they had a friend that lived outside Atlanta somewhere, right? One of my stepdad's friends growing up moved out there. So they wanted me to stay with them and then until my court date and then come back to North Carolina. So I had no other option. So I did. I stayed with them for a few weeks. For a few weeks, I was in, I forgot what even town it was. It was like one of the towns outside of Atlanta, small town. I don't think it's Gainesville. I think that's something else, but it was something like that. And after a day or two there, I walked up to Sonic. I was walking around and I saw a bunch of teenagers hanging out in a Sonic. I was like the hangout spot. Suppose I walked up, I was asking them like, where's the weed at, you know? And they were like, we started talking. They ended up being able to help me out. I started hanging out with them, and I hung out with those kids for like the next few weeks until my court date. I never saw them again, but they were pretty cool, you know. And I'm glad I found them, because without that, it would have been a much harder 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So I went to my court day and they wanted to give me community service. They said they could transfer it to North Carolina. I went to North Carolina. I never even followed up with it. You know, it will come back to bite me later. I'll tell you about that. It might not be this video, probably the next video. So went back to North Carolina, and I remember sometimes on this point, it wasn't for that long. It was for like a month or 2 or 3. Okay, I think I got back to North Carolina in November and left in February. And for a time, at this point, my mother and stepfather actually were living in this, like, what they call the pool house. It's just this little like structure right next to this pool that my stepdad's parents had outside their house, you know. And because they sold their house that they got from Habitat for Humanity. It's a long story. So they were living with his parents, and I was staying there for a few months. And I spent some time with some friends I had growing up, but I had this dream this vision of going out to California and being a musician or something. You know, just going to California. Something about California really drew me. Really wanted to go there in the first place, but it didn't happen and I ended up in jail or whatever. So this time I set out with a mission to go to California. So at this point I'm 17 years old, you know, it's February 2015. I turned 17 the last year in June. So I would turn 18 in a few months. And from that time, from February to June of 2015 is when I went from, the first thing I did is I actually went on a freight train because I met some homeless people who traveled by hopping on freight trains, not passenger trains, like trains that carry supplies, you know? And so I learned how to do it from them, but I never really did it before. They told me how to do it and everything, but I didn't hop out with them anywhere, you know, train hoppers. But so I already knew how to do it. And I was actually gonna go hop out of my hometown, New Bern, North Carolina, where I grew up, with a friend. And this guy says he's gonna go with me, and I was pretty excited because you know, it was a whole adventure I had the first time, and I thought, you know, it would be great to show somebody that adventure, you know. But he ended up chickening out. Okay, so it was pretty depressing. I was all on my own, and it rained. It rained on my way to Raleigh. So it was a good thing I brought a tarp and a sleeping bag. I had a big backpack, you know, and so I put the tarp over me when the rain, and I didn't actually get too wet, but it was when I had to leave the train and it was still raining, and I was in Raleigh and I was walking to try to find some shelter under the rain. I got pretty wet, and so that's how I got to Raleigh from New Bern, from a freight train. It was like a car carrying these railroad rocks, okay, and I climbed up into it and went into a corner of it, and it's pretty fun. It was pretty fun. I don't know if I'll ever do it again, you know, probably not. You know, I would if like I had a reason to. I don't think I have a reason to. If I was traveling, still had no homeless, but right now I have a lot of TikTok followers. People are helping me out with the motel. I don't see a reason to try to hop a train, but basically what I'm trying to say, it was a fun experience. It was a really fun experience. It's nothing you can really describe too well. It's something you can only experience riding on a freight train, you know. And so, and in this journey, I actually do some more train hopping, and I actually have what they call a road dog in the homeless person traveler community, the train hopper community. I had a road dog for a trip, you know. It was pretty nice, and I'm gonna tell you guys about that in part 4 of my life story. I don't know if this has been the most interesting addition to the series, you know, but it is a step in the chronological order towards the present. So when we started off, I was born. Okay, we started part 1, explained to you my early life. Now, almost 17 years old, almost 18 in like 4 or 5 months, setting out on a journey to go to California to pursue my dreams, you know. And so part 4 is going to be out real soon, maybe even tomorrow. If you have any opinions, anything you want to ask me about or talk about or remark on, please comment, please like, please subscribe, please turn on notifications with that bell icon. Like I said, I don't think this has been the most interesting part. I'm waiting for us to get well, the next part might be pretty interesting, because this part I was basically explaining how, you know, I went back home for a few months and then set out. Next part is going to be my whole journey from North Carolina, 17 years old, just homeless on my own 2 feet, making it all the way to California. And at one point I get a guitar, and that's a pretty cool story. So yeah, please watch the next one when it comes out, part 4. This has been part 3. Hello everybody, this is part 4 of my life story, okay? So I've been doing this series. A lot of people on TikTok, who follow me on TikTok or view my TikTok, they want to know my life story. They say, you know, what's your story? So here is the series on my story. This is part 4. So let's get right into it. Okay, so the last part of the story, where did I leave off? Where the fuck did I leave off? I think I had just gotten to that town outside of Atlanta, and I chilled with those kids for a while, those teenagers that were around my same age. When I was there, I was still 17 at the time, because I had just gotten arrested and bailed out by my mother all the way in North Carolina just for a little spliff, a tiny bit of weed. And so, yeah, I was chilling in that town for a while. It was pretty cool people there, you know. But then after a few weeks, I went back to North Carolina. Okay, so at this point, it's around November 2014, and I had come back to New Bern, North Carolina, the town I grew up in most of my life. So, you know, of course, when I first got back, I went to, honestly, I think when I first got back, I didn't go straight to my parents' house. And I think that upset them, you know. I really think that upset them. They weren't prepared for that. They had their friend's mother drive me back, and I can't exactly remember, but I might have stopped there first. I might have, but I think I might have went somewhere else directly after. I have no idea. But I saw my mother and my stepfather and my siblings and my stepfather's parents. Like I said, at this point they had lost their house. So before I go too much further, let me briefly explain my family's financial situation, because and you know how my mother raised me. You know, I saw this other person talk about online how my father was only 20 years old when he had me or something like that, and we raised each other or something. And I'm like, okay, I guess people having children young is a thing that people look at and say, okay, this is a factor that influenced my upbringing. And I never really thought about it too much, you know, until I saw that. So I thought, okay, you know, yeah, my mother was 17 when she had her first child. My sister, Samantha, my older sister, and she had it with this guy named Joe, okay, Joe Capello, in Long Island, New York. Coincidence, right? She gets divorced, all that, yada yada. A couple months later, the marriage didn't last long at all. A couple months later, she had me at around 18 or 19, okay? And she had me with another Joe Tamargo. So she went from Joe Capello to Joe Tamargo. Something about the name Joe, you know, something about the name Joe really got her going, I guess. I don't know. Joe Mama, no. You know, it's actually funny. Let me take a break to say that joke. You know, it was years later, okay? Years later than where I'm at in my story right now. I think I was 21 or something, 21 or 22. And we're at this Christmas party, and my mom's scolding me. I remember it so much. My mom was scolding me so badly because I had called a lot of people in the family, and I had said, that day or the previous day, and I had said, hey, Joe's coming to your house today. And I wasn't thinking about my father, Joe, in New York. I really wasn't. Okay. Every few years, I remember this joke, and I gotta tell it to everybody I know because I think it's so funny. And I try to find people who I don't think have heard of it before. You tell someone, hey, Joe said he's coming to your house today. And then maybe you add a little something extra to make it more believable. They say, Joe who? Say, Joe Mama. So I told, my brother was one of the people I told that joke to the day before. And my brother, my younger brother, Preston, I don't have any older brothers. I'm the oldest brother, of the family. But anyways, my brother, he's about a year and a half younger than me. He's in the Marines now. He's always been a real straight cut kid, very responsible and all this. And so, I remember when I was a teenager, I had this phone that my father in New York had sent me. He actually sent it down to my friend's house down the street, and my friend and their mom got it in the mail and let me have it. And so I was talking to my father on the phone in my room, but I shared the room with my brother. I went to go use the bathroom, and my father tells me that somebody was on the phone saying hello, and he just didn't say anything. I figured out it was my brother Preston, who was now acting like he's asleep. And then so after that, I hang up and I talk. I wasn't good at communicating. If I could have gone back in time, I think this would have been a great moment where we could have bonded. I could have talked to him, but instead my brother just talks bad about my father, and then I think we got in some fight or something. So maybe if he would have spoke to Preston, then it would have been better off, but he didn't say anything. So years later, my mother told me that when I told my brother that joke, that his girlfriend, his fiance at the time, said his face got all red and he was at a restaurant and he just walked out of the restaurant, because he thought that meant that his father, because at this point in time, my brother was, about to go in the Marines, just graduated from high school, had a fiance now. And it was like a very, very important time in his life, where he's becoming a man. And I guess I didn't really consider that. And so he got to him, it was like, oh, this motherfucker's gonna come now, right now. And it hurts my heart because I almost think that there was some hope there, and some excitedness here there, even though it was very under all the feelings of hurt, so when he found out it was just a joke, I think that might have hurt him worse, so I feel bad about that. There's a lot of times in my life, actually, even though this isn't continuing the story, I think there's relevant stuff about my life, and I want to say here because I do care about my family, right? So there's a lot of times in my life, in my childhood, I specifically remember, just not being able to communicate to my brother or some other of my siblings in the way that, in a way that I could reach them, or in a way that I could properly explain myself, and we could bond, and I think some, I have a mood disorder, bipolar, and I think there's more to it than that, because that's what I have officially, but I never went back to any, institution to try to get no more diagnosis. But I think back and it really hurts my heart sometimes, the bonding that we could have had, but there was a disconnect to where I just wasn't able to communicate properly. And I know that now, and I've done a lot of work to communicate better to people. So it's something I really realized. Like, I'll give you an example. One time, I have no idea even now to this day though, not as much. When I was a child, it happened more often. I would get random nosebleeds, you know. So one time, me and my brother are have to be by ourselves at our stepfather's parents' house all day. Nobody else is there, and I had stayed up all night playing video games, so I was sleeping all day. Okay, so the person who was supposed to be babysitting us, our aunt, wasn't gonna be back till like late that night, and so I remember periodically waking up through the day, and my brother Preston, he's just sitting on the couch, and right next to me, just looking off into the distance, just looking everywhere. And thinking back, I feel bad because this could have been a moment where I was there for them as a big brother. There's a lot of moments where I felt like I could have been there for him as a big brother, but I failed, you know, and that really hurts me to this day because I didn't understand at the time, you know, and I think if I was more properly able to communicate and understand, you know, when I was younger, then I could have been a better big brother. And I think that did ultimately influence my younger brother to pursue that drastic route of becoming a Marine. You know, I mean, it in one sense is very beneficial to him. You know, it gave him a life and stability that he wasn't gonna find in old New Bern, North Carolina, at Mama's house. So God bless him. But okay, so we're at my stepfather's parents' house, and I got a nosebleed in the middle of when I was in the middle of the day. I was still trying to sleep though, so I just walked over to the trash can in the kitchen and just hovered my nose above the trash can and just let it drip because I was so tired. I just didn't feel like communicating with anyone. And my brother is beside me, you know, and as soon as this happened, he's running over. He's like, Austin, what's going on, Austin? And he's trying to get me to respond, but I just didn't feel like responding to him. I was perfectly aware of my situation, but I just didn't feel like responding to him. So I just stayed there, my arms hanging over, and the blood dripping and I just imagined, like, man, that must have been like, we're like 12, 11, 12, 13 at the time, you know. I just imagine it must have been, he must have been very confused. I just wish I would have communicated with him better, you know, because, you know, I think it would have been, it really would have helped things a lot. But anyways, let me stop regretting not being a bigger brother to my brother, and let's move on with the story, okay? I went on a whole tangent there. So I stayed in New Bern for a few months, and on Thanksgiving, I actually spent Thanksgiving at one of my friends' houses. My parents were mad, but this time I still didn't want to really hang out with them that much, even though they weren't trying to ground me, and they acknowledged my sovereignty as an adult, even though I was still 17. I still didn't want to spend too much time with them, and so after a few months, so let me go back to explaining that part. So my mother was 19 or 20 when she had me, like 21, 22 when she had the rest of her kids. My father was like a year or two older than her. Then they got divorced. They moved down to North Carolina the first time. Then they moved back to Long Island, New York. Then they moved back. My mom moved back again a year later after she divorced my father. And long story short, a few years later, she marries this guy who's 7 years younger than her. So I saw this person make a post about how her father was like 20 years old and he was a young parent, and I'm like, okay, my mother was a young parent when she had us. Then a few years later, she's like, okay, I need me a young man. And so both of them, my mother and stepfather, I didn't think had much experience in raising children. But you know what? I gotta say they did try and give it their all. You know, when we were kids and we weren't before when we became adults, it seemed like they pretty much gave up on life. Okay, they stopped paying their electricity, their water bill for good. Like there was times when they would go a year without water, electricity at their house, and the only reason they had a place to live is because my stepfather's parents, my stepfather's mother was a nurse, she's a retired nurse now. His father worked for the Department of Transportation for the state for 45 years and retired. So they're not rich, but they worked hard for the system and got their benefits of retirement and managed your money well, you know. So they help out their kids. They bought my mom and stepfather a trailer out in the rural part of town. You know, they're pretty cheap out there. And but they I don't even know if they still have that place because they stopped paying rent too. They wouldn't pay my stepfather's parents anything. They would just stay there, and with no electricity or water either. And they wouldn't even cut the grass. So periodically, so they didn't get fined, my stepfather's father had to come and cut the grass for them because they wouldn't even cut the grass. Okay, so let me get back to the story. So February, I remember it was around the time of the changing of the zodiac seasons because I was real big into it then. Like February 21st to 22nd, I set out. And like I said last time, my friend said he was gonna come with me. And he ended up chickening out. Okay, so I was by myself. I think I explained this in my last video. It was raining and I had a good thing. I had a big backpack. Like I said in my last video, I had a tarp, and I put the tarp over me while it was raining. But then whenever the train stopped, it was still raining, so I had to get out in the rain. And I was walking around in the rain. The first guy that saw me, he said, "Man, are you good, man?" And I was like, "Man, I just got here." Asked him where it was. He says, "You in Raleigh, man?" And he was like, "Here, man," he gave me $7, and he went about his way. So I stood outside the gas station, the grocery store for a while, and I was just out there asking for money, you know, doing the Spanish thing that the homeless people had taught me up north, you know. And so eventually this guy comes along, and he says. Long story short, he offers me. He says I can stay at his crib. He's got an apartment for $20 a night. Okay, you know I can't stay there during the day, but him and his girlfriend got a crib or whatever. And I think he's in his late 30s, early 40s, something like this, right? I'm like, okay, cool. I go back to his place. He's got a girl. His girl's in like her 20s. Okay, and for the next few days, he tried to help me get some work there. I helped him with this other guy. It was really weird because he was working for this old white guy. It wasn't really work. He would go over to this old white guy's house, and the old white guy would just say, I mean, he was white too, but the old white guy would just say, "Yeah, empty out the trash cans, please." Empty out the trash cans in the house, and he'd be like, "Can you move those leaves?" Basically just coming over to be some pity servant for some old man who doesn't want to do anything himself and wants to help some poor person out, I guess. Anyways, I earned some money helping that guy do random tasks around this old guy's house. And so I got enough for a bus ticket to Atlanta. Because I'm like, that's my next destination is Atlanta. I wanted to go back to the city where I just spent all those months, met a lot of friends. I felt like I would be able to, you know, maybe even meet some other travelers there, some other people who were hopping trains and who wanted to travel with me. Because my ultimate goal was to go all the way to California. So one time when I was there, when he wasn't there, his girl was kind of coming on to me, but nothing happened. You know, I just left because at the time I was 17 years old. You know, and like I said, I was very ignorant of the world because my mother and stepfather growing up, they really did keep me in an isolated environment. Even though I went to public school, you know, I was for many months and for much of the time when I was a teenager, I wasn't allowed to be on the internet, to play video games, to go on social media or anything, or to go outside and play with my friends or anything like that, because sometimes when my grades were bad, sometimes they caught me smoking weed, you know, to try to cope with all the stress. But I guess they were very against me smoking weed. And you know, just little things like that. So so yeah, I got the bus ticket. I headed to Atlanta and I got back to Atlanta. Now I'm 17 years old, back in Atlanta, and I spent a few more months there. Like a week or two after I got there, my mother is telling me that these bonds people in Atlanta just want to talk to me about my case or whatever. You know, that to do something with my case because I didn't finish my community service. So they told me to meet me, and they met me outside Little Five Pizza, you know, in Little 5 Points. And you know, at the time I was 17, I was young and ignorant. I didn't understand that they were just gonna take me to jail. Like, yeah, we're gonna have to take you to jail. I'm like, fuck. So that's some advice for anyone. If the bonds person ever says they just want to talk, they actually just want to take you to jail. So I went to jail. I had to spend 2 weeks in jail, and you know, which was the original sentence anyway. So that whole bonding out didn't really do anything. But I had some good experiences in that jail, and as part of the ending of this video, I'm gonna tell some stories from my time in Atlanta jail. So when I first got there, right? When I first got there, these guys were making this whole. I forgot if this time they were making like the swole where you put all the ramen noodles and all the other ingredients in it, you know, or if they were making some juice drink or something. But they were making one or the other. When I walked up to them one time, and I was 17 years old, I was the only white person that I seen there, you know, and I forgot if I asked or something, or they offered. They said, hey, you know, give me half your food at dinner, and you can have some of this. So I was like, okay, that's a deal, and they gave me some, and I ate with them. And then at dinner time, you know, I'm ashamed to say this now, but I was looking around and I could not identify them, you know, because it was like hours ago, you know, and I had just got there. I hadn't really met anyone. I just remember when I first got here hours ago, these two guys, and I couldn't identify them because, you know, please forgive me, but I was the only white person there. All the rest were black people, and I'm not saying at all that all black people look the same at all, because I have, you know, I know I can identify people and their races and confuse me, okay? But at the time, I don't know why, I seriously could not remember who exactly the guys were. So I'm looking around, I'm walking through the whole table area, and I'm just looking at everyone trying to find them. And then this guy comes up to me. He's like, he's like, oh, right here, come on. He's like, oh, I'm not. So I said, oh, I'm sorry, man, I couldn't find you. You know, I couldn't find you. And he's like, oh, he said, oh, you good? So I start dividing up half of everything of my food. And the other guy, who was the actual guy who I owed the half my tray to, he comes up right as this guy starts doing this, and he's like, man, get the fuck out of here, man. And he's like, man, he's like, man, it was me who you gave it to. I was like, oh man, I'm so sorry, man. Like I forgot who it was. And then he's like, man, you good? Come sit with us, man. And so I went to his table. I start trying to take my food off my tray. And he's like, man, nah, eat your fucking food, man. He was like, eat. Now I'm getting my stutter. He was like, eat. Now I'm about to stutter. Maybe I need to slow down, take a deep breath. He was like, eat your food, man. He said, I don't want your food. He said, I don't want your food. I want you to eat, you know, and I really appreciated that. That meant a lot to me. And so for the next 2 weeks, week and a half, you know, I sat with them, you know, and they were real nice guys, real cool with me, you know. This jail actually had a basketball and a basketball hoop. You know, a few years later, in North Carolina, when I was in jail, and any other jail I've been to, they never had no basketball goals. So that was really fun, you know. At any point during the day, you could just go outside and play basketball. A lot of people didn't play basketball. A lot of people would just sit inside and watch TV, which was even better because most of the time you could just go out there and shoot some hoops by yourself, you know. So, you know, at the time, you know, I had just been through all this spiritual hippie stuff. So I'm thinking I know the spiritual knowledge. And, you know, me and this other guy in the basketball court are arguing about God, you know, and I'm talking about God is everything, everywhere, you know. And so it got a little bit more deep than that, but I'm not going to go further into the religious discussion here. Anyways, that same guy did something later, like a few days later. It was Sunday, and these ministers had come in from a local church, and I always remember these ministers. They were so tall, so very tall, old black men, very tall, you know, and both of them were very tall yet looked very healthy, very tall and skinny and lengthy, but looked very healthy. You know, they didn't look like anorexic or nothing. They were just skinny, you know, but they looked healthy, you know. And they were lecturing us about drinking water, making sure you drink water. That's one of the lesser things, like the least important thing I think they spoke about. But they were talking about water. But they said something else that really stuck to me always. They said you're supposed to actually drink water like an hour before or an hour after you eat. You're not actually supposed to drink water while you're eating because it could harbor digestion. Now, to this day, I need to verify it. I need to go online and check it out. To this day, that perplexes me because I honestly think, like, aren't you supposed to drink when you're eating to make the food go down easier? That's what I've always thought. But apparently, they even had a little pamphlet talking about how you're not supposed to eat, you know, you're not supposed to drink an hour before or an hour after you eat. And part of me has always thought that this must be some old person thing, you know, like when old people need to worry more about their diet, everybody should worry about it more. But I still do not understand it because, you know, when you go to a restaurant, they give you a drink with your meal. So if anyone has any answers to this, please let me know because I've been too lazy to Google it, I guess. Um, anyways, so they're telling us a lot about the spirit, heaven, you know, and all this, and about the spirits and the, you know, the battle between the dark spirits and all this stuff. So, in the middle of it, you know, in this jail, in the jail in North Carolina where I come from, that I went to a few years later, like everybody had to stay locked behind their cells, and the preacher would preach to everybody. But in this jail, if you want to go to church on Sunday, you all went into a special room with the two preachers. So, you know, you didn't have to go to church if you didn't want to. So we went in the room with the preachers, and after they're talking to us for a while, the same guy who I was arguing about God with just randomly comes in the room, and he starts going on this rant, and I forgot how he started it. But he starts talking about how heaven is real. He's like, heaven is real, and it's a whole layer of purple. It's purple everywhere. He's like, I've seen it, and he goes on this whole rant, and it always stuck to me, right? And he goes really on this long rant about this purple energy, right? And then after he left the room, and of course I did know about the chakras, how purple is the seventh chakra, you know, and you know, none of us said anything, and then he walked out, and I looked at one of the preachers, I looked at the other. One of the preachers was smiling, the other one, I looked at the other one, and he just had a stern face, you know, just a regular face. And then the second one, when I looked at him, he's like, there was a lot of truth to what that brother had just said. And then the other one was like, yep. And I always remember that. I always remember that moment. You know, it was something that could have been in a fucking movie. I swear to God, the way that it was so mystifying. The way that this guy comes in after we had a heated religious debate a few days ago, and then we're having church, and he comes in and proclaims this great vision of heaven that he's seen, and then the preacher's like, well, there's a lot of truth to that what that brother had just said. And I was like, and then I believed it. I was like, I didn't say anything, but I was like, okay, that's an affirmation, confirmation, it's all true. You know, so that was pretty interesting. So I'll finally end this video, because I usually only make these videos like 20 minutes long. Okay, so this has been a very long one. So I'll end this video explaining when I got out of jail, because there's still a lot more to cover here. There's still so much more to cover here. I haven't even left Atlanta yet for the second time. So I'm gonna explain getting out of jail. So I got out of jail like a day early, you know, and I took to the guy and said, I'm supposed to get out tomorrow. He's like, looks like it's your lucky day, you know, but it's actually because they have so many inmates, they gotta release people early, you know, especially for petty crimes. You know, they shouldn't be even bringing people to jail for no damn spliff with a tiny bit of weed in it anyways, but whatever. I'm not gonna continue complaining about it. But anyways, so I get released, and I'm in 5 Points downtown. That's what somebody in the comments actually commented on this video, and on one of my last videos of the series, talking about how when they were homeless in Atlanta, they were at 5 Points downtown, and said it was a scary place. And it actually, you know, I would hesitate to call it scary, but it is a dangerous place. You know, in a place that you have to be careful. You gotta be careful in big 5 Points, okay? They got motherfuckers from all different types of gangs out there. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers huddled by the trash can, by the fire, burning trash can, ready to get what you got if they catch you slipping. You know what I'm saying? They all out there. But and little 5 Points. You know, little 5 Points isn't always some safe haven either. You know, a lot of stuff goes down there, and East Atlanta is actually right just down the road from Little 5 Points. It's technically almost East Atlanta, Little 5 Points, but Little 5 Points is it is a completely different area than Big 5 Points downtown. Big 5 Points downtown is like, it's just there's none of the culture or nothing of it. It's just mainly government buildings and other homeless people in gangs, people trying to pull schemes, and very important business people walking around during the day. But so it's a very different place than Little 5 Points. But when I first got released, this older black guy I met was homeless also, and I would hang out with a lot of homeless people there. So it wasn't out of the norm for me to just walk up to this black homeless guy and ask him what's going on. And then so he's like, man, we're trying to get some bub, man. And so he's like, man, he sends me on a little mission or something. He's like, man, go try to see if you can get like $3, man. He's like, I got 2. You know, we're gonna make this work. I was like, okay, you know. I will go around, start trying to raise $3 somehow. I get back to him. He has a little bit of weed. He's like, okay, man, come on, let's smoke a little bit of weed, man. He's like, you hungry, man? You hungry? Pulls out this thing. He's got a bunch of lunch meats and bread. I'm like, nah, man. No, actually, this time I did. I was like, yeah, man, hell yeah, man. I just got out of jail. He's like, okay, man, you make yourself a sandwich, man. And he starts putting the weed in the pipe. I'm making myself a sandwich. Start eating the sandwich. He passes it to me. It was a really nice night. And then I was like, all right, man, I gotta get back to Little 5 Points. He's like, all right, man. So I went back to Little 5 Points. When I got back to Little 5, I had to walk there. I don't know how far of a walk it is. Maybe an hour or 2 or 3. I don't know. Got back to Little 5 Points and I had just been in jail for 2 weeks, you know. So no weed, no alcohol, because I was drinking sometimes when I was in Atlanta too, even though I was only 17 years old. No alcohol, no weed, no tobacco, nothing in that jail, no good food either. So when I got to Little 5 Points, I went overboard. I went crazy, okay? Every single person that passed me, I was in the main little park area. Every single person that passed me that had a leftover food box, I would ask them for it. And I would start eating that motherfucker. These nice burgers, I'm eating. Next thing I saw some pizza, hey, can I have your leftovers? Eating the pizza. and then every time I saw some cigarette, can I have one of your cigarettes? Smoking a cigarette. Every time I try to raise money for some weed, smoking the weed. Every time I see the homeless person drinking, let me get a sip of that. Let me throw it on the beer. I was drinking, smoking, eating everything, trying to get everything, trying to get all of these sensations I haven't had, all these endorphin rushes I haven't had in 2 weeks. And then I got the biggest headache that I can remember. The biggest headache. So, oh my God, it was such a big headache. You know, I get headaches periodically, but this was a killer headache, I'm telling you. Like, I had consumed and did way too much. I was eating so much, smoking so much, dude. It's too much. You know, my head just started killing me. So then I go to the store, okay? I go to the gas station. I stand outside and I start asking people if they can get me headache medicine. So this hippie guy comes. One of the first people that comes is this hippie guy and his girlfriend, okay? And the hippie guy says, oh, you don't need medicine. You just need to go meditate, you know, and try to find out why the pain is there or something. So I was like, okay, you know what? You're right. Because I was very susceptible to the spiritual nonsense, you know, and the idea that you can influence your reality with the power of your mind. So I was like, okay, you're right. So I go 2 blocks away. I sit under a tree. I start to lay down and I start to meditate. I literally sat there for like an hour, maybe more, and it only got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I was like, yo, fuck this fucking hippie. I was like, that fucking hippie. I was so fucking mad. I got up and I hit the ground and said, fuck that fucking hippie. I went back to the gas station. And I started asking people again. I was like, please, can you give me some headache medicine? It's so bad, please. And then finally, like, second or third guy goes and gets me some headache medicine. It only took like 5 or 10 minutes. You know, I just wasted a whole hour. My head getting worse and worse because some fucking hippie guy sold me this bullshit. Sold me as in not really selling me something, but told me something that I believed that I shouldn't have believed. Anyways, so yeah. So that's the story of my first day out of jail in Atlanta. So I'm sorry guys, this has been such a long addition to the story, and in the beginning of this video I really explained a lot of my upbringing instead of continuing from where we left off, and then I cashed people up. I explained stuff that I already explained in the last video for some of it, but you know, like I said, some people don't understand. I've had a very complicated life, okay? And if people really want to know me and understand me for who I am, which, you know, I will be really impressed if there are actually people who want to do that, then I think all this information is relevant, you know, and I think every piece of the story really adds to it to really understand me as a person, you know, and my story. So in part 5 of my story, I really thought that this part 4 of the story I was gonna explain me going all the way from Atlanta to California, and at least start explaining when I was in California at 17, but we didn't even get close to there. And I almost want to keep on going because I'm like, I might as well just keep on fucking going. But at the same time, this is already going to take like hours to upload. And you know, I doubt anyone wants to watch much longer, you know, for right now. You know, they might want to watch another video later, but this has been a very long video. So if anyone's watched all of this to the end, God bless you so much. Thank you so much for listening, and I feel very grateful that you find this interesting. So God bless you. Please subscribe. Please like. Please comment on any part of the story, any part of it, and give your opinion if you can. That would be much appreciated. So yeah, appreciate you guys so much. God bless you.
Please, we need help. Please help us. Please, can anybody please spare any money for food? Please help us. We need help. Please help us. We need help. Can anyone please spare any money for food, please? Hello, Jonathan. God bless you. You could even just spare $1. We have 169 people in here. If everybody just sent $1, we'd have enough to get some groceries. We'd have enough to get a good amount of groceries. If everyone just chipped in $1, please help us in any way that you can. And even though I don't appreciate people sending 1 penny or just a couple cents just to say mean things in the description and just try to hurt us, I don't appreciate that. You know, now that this guy just sent another penny, I'm gonna have to block him on PayPal, because he's just sending me a penny at a time saying really mean things to me about me and my girlfriend. Please, can anybody please spare any money for food, please? Please, can anybody please spare any money for food, please? 1 second. I have to block this guy on PayPal. He keeps on being really mean. I'm just asking for money for food. I know I'm pathetic. I know I'm a loser, but we need money for food. I'm sorry about that. Can anybody please spare any money for food, please? Please, can anybody please help us with any money for food, please? Please, can anybody please spare any money for food? I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to block this guy from PayPal. He keeps on sending me 1 penny and being really mean. Give me 1 second here. Can anybody please spare any money for food? I'm trying to block this guy on PayPal. Please, can anybody please spare any money for food? I'm sorry. I'm trying to block this person on PayPal that's just sending me a penny at a time to be really mean. I'm trying to figure it out. Please, can anybody please spare any money for food, please? Please, can anybody please spare any money for food? No, they are not. Can anybody please spare any money for food? Please, can anybody please spare any money for food? Please, can anybody help me and my girlfriend with money for food, please? Okay, I finally figured out how to block this guy. I don't really believe you, Kelly, but if you did, we would appreciate you so much. We need money for groceries. Please help us out. Can anybody please spare any money for food? Yes, we were able to make dinner tonight. We used the rest of the stuff we had to make dinner. We will not be able to make dinner tomorrow night or any meals if we do not get any money for food. Please help us if you can, please. I have never received any PPP loan. I see that's a new slander that people are trying to put against me. You said then take my challenge. I don't know what challenge you're talking about. I'm just begging people to please help me eat today. Can anybody please spare any money for food, please? Please, can anybody please spare any money for food? Please, we need help. Please, we need money for food. We have Chime, PayPal, and Venmo in the poll in the chat. Also in the description of this video and in the about section of my channel. Please, we have Chime, PayPal, and Venmo. All in the poll in the chat, in the description of this video, and in the about section of my channel. Can anybody please spare any money for food, please? Please, can anybody please spare any money for food, please? Please help us, we need help. Hello, Amanda, God bless you. Can you please spare anything, even just $1, please? You said, I have your challenge. I don't see any challenge, and I'm not here to do any challenges, Kelly. I'm here begging people to help us eat. I'm not here to do any challenges. I'm here begging anybody to please have compassion for us and help us with money for food. I'm asking for compassion. I'm not asking to be challenged. How do you afford internet? I don't think we can afford it. It's about to be turned off. We're about to be fucked. The past few months, miracles happened. People came through and helped us with our phone and internet bill, but can anybody please spare any money for food? Please, can anybody please spare any money for food? Okay, I gotta unblock. I gotta block somebody else on PayPal. They keep on sending me pennies just to mess with me again. This guy just. I never got any PPP loan for any restaurant. I never got any PP loan at all. Please do not believe all these people lying. They literally try to put random things together and try to make conspiracies about me literally every single day. That's all they do. Please, can anybody please spare any money for food? Please, can anybody please spare any money for food? Okay, sorry guys, I have to hurry up and unblock this person so they stop sending me just one penny to mess with me. Please, MC Grammar, if you can spare anything, please. Sorry guys, I'm still trying to block this person. They just keep messing with me.